that.
No.
Save that for Hello, world. This is Hello Chaos, the podcast about the ups and downs, ins and outs, low points, and highlights of entrepreneurship. I am your co-host, Jennifer Oladipo, aka Jeno.
And I am your other co-host, Jennifer Sutton, aka JJ, the two Jennifers coming at you. And today we have on our podcast Greg Hatcher with White Knight Labs. Welcome, Greg.
Welcome, Greg.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, let's just to kick it off, Greg, you're a founder of White Knight Labs. Give us the 30,000 foot of your entrepreneurial journey.
Sure. I've started a couple businesses. Well, we'll talk about WKL specifically. So my business partner is John Steigerwalt. So we both have very deep technical backgrounds in offensive cybersecurity, from software development, malware development, API testing, embedded testing, etc. So I left Army Special Forces in 2017. I did 4 combat deployments to the Middle East from 2010 to 2017. My wife and I, we decided to get out and start a family. So from there, I transitioned right into my next career, which was offensive cyber. I met John when I was working at VDA Labs, which is a boutique offensive cyber shop right here in Grand Rapids. And we were both senior penetration testers there for 2 years. And while there, we attacked a bunch of different technologies, from like the Call of Duty mobile application to working on increasing kernel security for the Windows operating system for Microsoft, just a whole slew of things. So I was definitely thrown in the deep end for 2 years. And after that, VDA kind of imploded in 2020 when Dr. Jared DeMott, the founder, left. John went off to F-Secure to lead the red team there, and then I went over to CISA to lead a 3-man red team. So shortly after that, we put our heads together. We were like, why don't we just take all this experience we have and do it ourselves? So that's what we did. WKL is our brainchild. It really is the best methodologies and TTPs that John and I have learned over the years for red teaming, just kind of like wrapped into one. So,
and just for our audience who doesn't know TTPs.
Oh yeah, like tactics and procedures, just like how you do things.
Gotcha.
And red team, because I know that's a terminology in your industry. How do you define red team?
So I'll define blue team, red team, and pen testing because they can be kind of confusing and those lines get blurred sometimes. So red team would be like full scope offensive operations. So if like China or the country of Russia wanted to attack you, there would be like a red team engagement. They would be doing open source intelligence. They might actually go to where you live and like do dumpster diving. They would do anything in their power to get access to your proprietary information or any kind of access that they wanted. So pen testing is different in that it's more like a smash and grab. It is network focused. Usually it's 1 week internal network, 1 week external network. So the external would be attacking a client's network from just like the external attack surface. And then the internal would be we place a VM on their internal network and we're doing like enumeration exploitation on the inside. So it's usually just a 2-week engagement, whereas a red team can be anywhere from 8, 12, 16 weeks. We're moving very low and slow. We do not want to be noticed by the blue team. And that leads us to the blue team. The blue team are the defenders of the network. They're usually eyes on glass monitoring. They are the watchdogs. They're looking for anything besides baseline traffic. So any kind of anomaly is like, okay, this computer keeps calling out over the HTTP protocol and the process is msbuild.exe. That's weird. That shouldn't be happening. That's something that a blue teamer would catch. They're going to be the first ones to alert and like kick off an incident response.
Okay. So you said it's like the defender of your security, your internet security.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Well, so how has it been? So you launched White Knight Labs then in the last year or two?
Yeah. So 2021 is where we really started getting going. And then 2022 was our breakout year. We started teaching at WildWest Hack and Fest and virtually on the Anti-Siphon platform. And then we just had, our revenue like 10x in 2022. So
why was that?
I think it's the teaching, getting our name out there. And then in 2023, we hired a PR company to just help get us on things like this, like podcasts, getting us in the news, etc. I mean, we were looking at Dave Kennedy of Trusted Sec because he's like on Fox News or CNN almost every
Right.
day, and we're like, how did he do that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he just owns a cybersecurity company. Like, why is he on Fox News? So we did hire a PR company, and that's been helping out a lot too. So yeah, we're only going up, that's for sure.
Well, that's fantastic. So how's it been? What's been the big lesson learned of any barriers or your biggest challenge, and what's been like your best like story of when? I mean, obviously PR getting your name out there, but anything else that you can share?
Yeah, the PR company has been huge for us. Automating a lot of the social media stuff on like LinkedIn, Facebook has been great too, so that doesn't eat up our time. I would just say like finding the right people is probably the biggest time consuming thing. Like whenever we get resumes for when we're hiring for like a senior red team engineer or an embedded tester, people will submit these resumes that like we call them paper tigers. They have all the certs, they have all the experience, and then we actually sit down for the interview and they can't actually perform or do the
Right.
hands-on work. So that's been kind of frustrating. It's hard to vet people until they're like under the gun during a live interview.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have that issue when they are dealing with folks like you, right? When so your customer base probably is going through a lot of that. How do you help them understand the importance in what you can do? Because especially a lot of our audience is going to be small and medium-sized businesses who are probably behind the game when it comes to, cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And so they're probably piecemealing things. And how do you help them understand what it is you can do? How do you tell your story to them, I guess?
Yeah, Jenna, that's a great question. So I like to think of like cybersecurity as a hierarchy. At the baseline of the like the pyramid, you'd ask yourself, do I know what my do I have like a good hardware asset inventory? Do I know like everything that's on my network? From there, you'd go to software inventory. Do I know all the software that is supposed to be on my network? If something was installed randomly, would something alarm? From there, you move up to like, are we doing vulnerability and patch management? If they're doing that, maybe it's time for a pen test. If they've been pen tested for 4 years or 5 years, maybe it's time for a red team engagement. So a client needs to understand where they are in the maturity level. We're never going to pitch a red team to a company in the SMB market that isn't even doing patch management, because that would be a really gross misuse of their money.
And where do you find that most people are in their cybersecurity?
Yeah.
I think for many founders, unless they've got something, we were talking earlier about like a regulatory need, or the tech is part of actually what they do, it's really kind of like last on their list of things to think about.
Like
and spend
if it's
on.
not broken, they don't know.
Yeah. So how often do you go in and find that folks really have it, pretty well together, and you can get into your blue team?
Yeah.
I would say that WKL, our clients usually have their hardware and software asset inventory already good to go. They're already doing some kind of patching. Some of our clients have already been pen tested 1 or 2 times. So we're usually right at that transition from pen testing to red teaming. So like more mature clients. But that being said, like we can help any vertical and like at any experience level or maturity level.
Yeah. So how are you figuring out where to focus? I know you're still early on and maybe sort of feeling it out, but how are you deciding, you pretty much serve every vertical, you said you're agnostic.
Yep. If you need help with cybersecurity, we will help you.
Gotcha. So that's where you are at this phase.
Yeah. So you keep saying pen testing, and if a company has already done a pen test, what is that?
So a penetration test is an umbrella term for attacking something that is like networked. So it can be a computer. There's mobile application penetration tests so say you have like a mobile app on your iPhone has that been penetration tested? I don't know. Same thing, like if you're like this web app that we're on right now has been penetration tested. I don't know. So, but when I say pen test, I'm usually referring to network penetration testing in this context. So it's just the client's internal or external network, as opposed to just like a web app or a mobile app or something.
And are you being brought in by like an already an existing CIO or a CTO, or is it really that CEO or small business owner that's going, okay, I'm hearing cybersecurity is becoming a bigger issue, I probably need to bring a specialist in. I mean, how do you engage with your clients?
We typically are working with director level / C-suite level. I love working with engineers, except usually the engineer is the person doing the work, and they're not the decision maker that is going to hire WKL to actually get us in the door to assist with their cybersecurity. So, it's usually CEO if it's a smaller company. Obviously, if it's a huge company like Google, we're not going to be working directly with the CEO because that wouldn't make much sense.
Not one of the last things they want to think about. And when you were transferring your, you can kind of hear it in there where the military, what you've chosen to do just kind of lays right on top of your military experience. But I'm really curious about how you've taken that experience and, what of it have you found applies well to running this startup, and what kind of stuff maybe hasn't applied so well outside of the military structure?
Being able to shoot a pistol really proficiently has not applied to running a cybersecurity company.
Are you sure? Because HR rules are changing every day. HR methods are changing every day. But okay, I'll believe you on that. What else?
I'm sure the discipline, like that mentality of being structured.
Yeah, well, I'll talk about my last deployment. So there was about 15 of us, and we operated independently as a small team in the middle of Syria, and we had to be completely self-sufficient. So that's getting our own water, our own food, our own electricity. I was the engineer on the ground setting up high side and low side internet so that my captain and the 18 Zulu, who's the senior enlisted guy on the ground, so they can talk back to the rear. So if something breaks, I have to fix it, or I have to find the know-how to fix it. All those things apply directly to running a boutique offensive cybersecurity company. So having like the ability to figure out things for yourself and the way forward has been critical. So we're essentially a small team that's doing big stuff and having a huge impact in the region, just like a special forces team would.
And so what about the parts that don't work well? I mean, I'm assuming, unless you're primarily hiring veterans, dealing with a lot of people who are not used to military structure and hierarchy or just that culture. So are there parts that you found that you had to adjust your leadership style maybe?
I would say that I've adjusted my leadership style a little bit. There's always going to be employees that join the company that don't fit in, and they usually go away pretty quickly. Not because we tell them to go away, but because we operate extremely. We execute very quickly here as a company. We operate like a special forces team. We're very tactical, and we're very precise in our execution. So engineers that can't do those things don't fit in.
And so then you change your leadership style in what way to?
Honestly, I can't talk to civilians like I can talk to people in the military. Like, it's completely different. Like the lingo, right? When you're in the military, it's almost like an acronym soup. So
right. Yeah.
I stay away from acronyms when I'm speaking to non-military folks.
That makes sense.
Has your tone changed in terms of, do you soften your tone to non-military versus, if you get into this mode of like, I'm going to be very direct and,
I'd like to think so. It's really bad when John and I are on a call because we're very direct and we both speak quickly. It's almost like we're attacking the client like with machine guns with our voices. So
you said this tone change. I was like, I don't think so.
Yeah. So we I try to just be like warm and cordial.
Yeah. It comes through too, but it's interesting how many former military people are in, go to cybersecurity, and maybe they weren't necessarily even in cyber, that kind of stuff like you were when you were in the service, but it just lends itself to that whole like defense and attack mentality. And
there's a lot of, we work with a lot of corporations that are, Fortune 500, Fortune 1000. They like to hire people out of the military because of their structure. There's discipline. There's that directness. There's a attitude and work ethic that already comes out. So a lot of companies do like those traits and prefer them on their team. So, didn't know if that also kind of applies. Do you already have like an immediate connection with people?
Yeah, I do like when the client is a veteran, or we've partnered with some other companies where the CEO is a veteran, and it's definitely a brotherhood for sure. It's almost like the bona fides is complete, and you know that you can trust that person.
And being a veteran-owned company, have you guys gone through any of those government certifications or state certifications? Has that helped your business at all?
I only own half the company. So to be like a veteran-owned small business, you have to own 51%. So yeah, we have not done that yet. I do want to start participating in the SkillBridge program.
Okay.
Once the company becomes a little bit more mature and we grow, we're definitely going to start opening up the door to the SkillBridge program, which is a program that the federal government sponsors transitioning vets to work for a private company. They still get their salary from the military, but they're getting that private sector experience as they transition out.
Yep.
Oh, how long is that duration that they're in that program?
I think it's 3 months long. It's very similar to the Hiring Our Heroes Fellowship.
Okay, very interesting. And as far as business building, since you're still, well, people are always learning the whole time. That's why we're here.
Right.
But what are some of the things?
We're a work in progress. Right?
Yeah, that's what the whip is, an orange whip, a work in progress. What are some of the aspects of just business building that have been, surprising for you?
Networking events and events in general are not created equal. Finding out which events have the highest ROI has been a fun experience. Like if you go to events where maybe you're having a good time and there's a bunch of engineers and you can talk about deeply technical things, that's great to geek out, but that's not going to land you actual work for your company. So I've been going to events here at WMCAT, sponsored by The Right Place. And I went to one meeting. I'm not gonna lie. Don't tell Jen Wrangler this. I did not want to go to that meeting. We landed multiple partnerships and deals from one meeting.
Wow.
Just because like the room was stuffed full of CEOs and business owners that were all local to Grand Rapids. Like it was, there wasn't a non-decision maker in the room. So,
and it was a diverse group of businesses, right?
It was. Yep.
Okay. So that's a really great lesson for our audience is make sure you're in the right room talking to the right people. And at that point, I mean, was it one of these things where you're just straight talking business, or was it that you were, able to make the personal connection, which opened the door to the business, with follow-ups kind of thing? Like just talk a little bit about how that actually paid off for you.
Yeah, both. Whenever I'm meeting like a potential client or trying to go into a partnership opportunity, I try to do small talk first, learn about the person, try to figure out if I can trust the person, like, do they have the shifty eyes? But you can tell pretty fast, like within 5 minutes, whether or not it's going to work for a partnership opportunity. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. We're going to have to take this little side road. How can you assess trust very quickly? That's a big,
is this a military training?
Eye contact is really big with me. Even then, like training Afghans, training people all over the Middle East. I did some work in Saudi Arabia for a while. You can just tell usually whether or not people are giving off the right vibes for making a connection, or are they intentionally like beating around the bush with your questions, not making eye contact, etc. Are they like standing like facing? Like when you're talking to someone, you're facing them, but is the person like slightly off kilter, like they're trying to get out of there as fast as possible? Because when people don't want to talk to you, they will actually like stand like off kilter to you. Yeah, because that's them trying to leave mentally.
I was actually trying to do that very recently, and unfortunately, the guy wasn't picking up the message, and so it's just.
Oh, you were doing that?
Yeah,
you're like, I'm giving all body language cues I need to be out of here.
So you're right.
Have you translated any of that into like Zoom and virtual? Can you pick up on those cues?
Maybe, I mean, like my body language right now is that like I'm just like facing the screen, trying to make eye contact by looking to a webcam, but it would be kind of awkward for me to like try to leave the podcast by like slowly turning away. I don't know.
I wish somebody would do that to me. That'd be
Or
fun.
you're just like, okay, I'm listening to you. I'm just going to go off camera and I'm going to go on mute.
We need one of those. I was at a networking event, by the way. It wasn't just like an interpersonal interaction, but we do need some kind of like exit body language for Zoom.
Virtual versus
Yeah.
just turning off your camera.
I guess there's that.
I mean, it is a whole new
I guess that's the
ecosystem.
one
This is
thing.
where we're at. So
Or sad face
Yeah.
emojis.
Yeah.
So before we got on the call, you talked about some new federal regulations that are opening up a good line of business for you. And can you talk a little bit about that and sort of how you are, planning to take advantage of that, what your game plan is?
Sure. So John and I both have a couple years of experience of testing the security of embedded medical devices. So like pacemakers, insulin pumps, these are things that are used by the medical industry, usually within a human being. And they have an API that talks to like either a mobile backend or the cloud backend or a web app or something. It's been typically a fairly niche market, so we haven't been advertising it. But in late March, the FDA actually mandated that if you're making some kind of embedded medical device in the United States right now and you haven't gone to market yet, like you will get your device, the security of your device tested. So it's a fairly like loose language. Essentially, if it talks to the internet, it's getting tested. Period.
Mm-hmm.
So
what's your game plan? Just, I mean, in terms of like you talked a little bit about your messaging and positioning and stuff like that.
So we're actually going to be dropping a series of IoT penetration testing blogs. We're also we're to start marketing that service on our website as well and dropping LinkedIn content.
Nice.
And when you're doing your blogs, do you have help with that? And how do you, that's another thing that a lot of businesses can sometimes struggle with is how to get that expertise out into the world in a way that's like interesting and
or to manage that. Like you said, you've got a PR team, you've automated social media, but then that's like hard content that you're creating as business owners and founders. How are you balancing? Because I know I struggle with that.
ChatGPT is not going to write a blog for me. Unfortunately.
Hope not. Not a good one.
Whenever we bring people on, part of the role is writing blogs, and we don't try to take the credit for the blog. I mean, it's obviously going on the whiteknightlabs.com website, but we'll put their name right on the blog. Like they did this work. So they're part engineer, but they're also responsible for creating content.
Yeah.
Oh, so then as you're staffing up, I guess that's one of the things that you're asking people about when you're talking about team fit is, can they
contributing
two verbs together?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Greg, you said that you have a co-founder. So how was that process of developing and starting the company, trying to determine what's your operating agreement? Did you guys go into the relationship with an operating agreement of, all the rules of engagement? What's your exit strategy? Like, how did that whole situation and conversation come about? Or are you guys still working through that?
Oh no, we worked through that a couple years ago. So John Steigerwald actually founded White Knight Labs LLC. It's an LLC that's based in Pennsylvania in 2016, but did nothing with the company until circa 2020.
Okay.
So we had a long conversation, like because he wanted to bring me on as a technical co-founder. I'm like, I will, but I want 50%. Like if I have less than 50%, I'm not going to be, I'm not going to have skin in the game. So that's what we ended up deciding on.
And were those long conversations, or was it pretty much kind of?
Not really.
You're like, here's what I want, and so good compromise there.
Yeah. But it's a great fit. I mean, John's my best friend. We work out together. We celebrate our kids' birthdays together. He's in Pennsylvania and I'm in Michigan, but our relationship has never been better or stronger.
And do you guys have a cadence of, do you guys talk daily, or how are you guys communicating and building that partnership?
Multiple times daily. So we use Slack. So we'll do a Slack huddle. If we're away from our computer, we'll just call each other also.
And have you guys defined like, okay, John's responsible for this and leadership there, and you're responsible for this? Or do you guys like just block and tackle as it comes?
I would say we block and I love that analogy. Wow.
Yeah.
We block and tackle as it comes.
You say
There
that
are
all
some
the time.
things there are some things that I naturally gravitate to, just like he naturally gravitates to some things. But yeah, we don't have like set roles in the operating agreement.
Awesome. That's
So-
good.
Like
So
I really
think-
wanted to learn QuickBooks, so I run QuickBooks. I run our accounting, which is not like an engineering thing at all. But
Yeah.
I just think
Right.
it's cool. It's technology.
Yeah.
So we all wear multiple hats, don't we?
Yes,
To get through that.
like 10.
Like
I
10.
used to just be an engineer, so those days are over.
Has that been a fun journey for you?
Oh, fun! I'm not sure I would use that word. Maybe interesting.
Yeah. I
highlights
use
and
that
low
word a
points,
lot
folks.
whenever I'm like, oh, that's yeah. It's been weird or interesting or
Yeah. Yeah, it's like
um,
every single day you have to like learn some new piece of the business. Whereas when I was just an engineer, I would have to worry about like my lane. Like I'm gonna be a red teamer. I'm gonna do software development and attack this network. But now it's accounting, marketing, business development, making swag for conferences. Like
the
like
list
having a
is
graphic
endless.
designer. Yeah, it really is endless.
Yeah. And
Uh,
processes and systems and yeah.
Yep.
Are there any of those things that you're most proud of that were, maybe really far outside of your wheelhouse that you tackled and
Yes.
accomplished?
So I reached out to Velda Lemke of Wawa's Hackin' Fest, which is a conference that used to happen in San Diego, and now it happens in Deadwood, South Dakota. But I reached out to her, that would have been in 2021, and I asked her if we could write a course to teach at Wawa's Hackin' Fest, because the conference is primarily focused on training. And I was expecting like a hard no, like GTFO, get out of here, right? Like I've never even heard of your company. And she like I pitched the idea for the offensive development course, and she was like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Oh my
I was
God,
like,
that's great.
Oh, like I haven't made it. I guess I have to make it now.
That's right. That's how it does it. You're like, I've got an idea for you.
Yeah.
And then, okay, I'd like to hear it. Okay, now I need to
great.
come
I
up
gotta
with the
figure out how to
idea.
get it
Yeah,
done.
it really is like the Elon Musk mindset, where like
Mhm.
commit and then figure it out on the back end.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love the
And-
names of your conferences. It's the Wild West Hackin' Fest.
Oh, they have
Yep.
the best.
Yep.
Those
And there's
are
also also GurCon in Grand Rapids. Like
What is it called?
GurCon.
Oh, like as in GRRRR?
It's GRRCON.
Just 2 hours.
Yep.
Just 2 R's. I love those names. That's fantastic.
So when you decided to develop the course, I mean, that's really like a process of you getting your intelligence, into a form that's not only suitable for like your technical people, but for people who are learning. So what was the leap there? You had mentioned that was the thing that, you were proud of accomplishing. So what was like the challenge there that you were able to, where was the growth there?
Every piece of that course was challenging. So getting the licenses for the various EDR products. EDR is like one step above antivirus. It's called endpoint detection response. So we
Okay.
have various EDR products in the course, like CrowdStrike and Cylance and Microsoft ATP. Getting the licensing figured out, learning Terraform, because like in the olden days, we would give students multiple VMs and they would import their VMs into VMware, and it would take 30 minutes before we even start class to get the VMs up and running. But now we give our students a Terraform script, they drop their AWS keys in it, and the whole thing spins up in their AWS cloud environment in like 45 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's way different. And that they have access to 10 machines immediately.
Whoa.
Well,
Had you ever written a course before?
I wrote
Before
an-
you pitched that?
Yeah, I wrote an incident response course that I taught at Calvin University. It was all right. I was fairly green at the time. I was very new in that career field. So it actually never got taught again. I taught it once with Matt Weil. It's a guy I used to work with, and that was the end of it. So
Yeah.
You might need to pitch it again. Right? Like,
Yeah.
get it out there. Sell it. Sell
Yeah, maybe.
Are you considering, actually, that was going to be something I was thinking about was, so much of cybersecurity, there's just a big educational lift with
Yeah.
your client base a lot of the time. And so you're obviously probably doing some of that with your blog. Are there any other ways that you are A, educating your audience, and B, possibly productizing that?
Yeah. So We actually got asked by a client yesterday. Well, first off, they want to partner. They're like a client that became a partner. They want us to come on site and actually show them how to do hardware hacking. So we're going to do that. Yeah, it's not all virtual. There's a lot of companies in Grand Rapids that they'll have us come on site. We'll talk about like the SDLC and how to improve that software development lifecycle is what that stands for.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, if a client has to ask, we will teach them. Sometimes when we deliver our penetration test reports to our clients, they don't have the technical expertise on hand to actually remediate the vulnerabilities. So we'll work hand in hand with them to write GPOs and develop a LAPS configuration. LAPS is so that not every single Windows operating system uses the same local admin password, because then you can move laterally very easily. So yeah, it really is a client specific.
And you've mentioned a lot of Grand Rapids companies. Are you able to find your business majority local?
I would say that our heaviest footprint is right here in Grand Rapids in Western Michigan. We have had clients all over the place, but this is where I am, and this is where our director of sales, Stephen Martin, is also located. So when we're doing networking events, it's, we're going to Grand Rapids, we're going to Holland, we're going to Spring Lake. It's very focused here.
Old stomping grounds.
Right.
Yeah.
I used to be a Michigander, for those in the audience who don't know.
But you can serve nationally.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we can serve Oconus anywhere in the world.
Oh, wow.
Because the company is virtual.
Yeah. And does it make a difference, do you think, or I guess, what are the differences serving locally? I'm, speaking especially from, not necessarily from like the specific service that's delivered, but like as a business owner and engaging with your customer base, what are the differences? I think most people would assume it's cyber, it's virtual, you can do anything from anywhere with anyone.
What are the differences between like remote and go ahead?
Yeah. Just engaging with your local community, I guess, as a business owner is what I'm getting at.
Oh, I absolutely love it. So we hosted St. Patty's Day Bash at LMCU Ballpark right here in Grand Rapids. Jenno, you're like from this area, right? You said Big Rapids.
Yeah.
So you've probably been to Grand Rapids a couple of times.
Oh yeah,
LMCU Ballpark up 131. Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing in Big Rapids, so you go to Grand Rapids when you want to do something.
Right. Yeah, so we hosted the St. Patty's Day Bash, and we did like a live like cloud red team infrastructure demo. John and I did. He actually flew over here from Pennsylvania for that, and we had like corned beef, and we had a live Irish band, and just being able to do in-person activities again it's just a breath of fresh air. It's a completely different experience and way to connect with our audience and target market as well.
Right. Well, I think it also opens up of kind of break down that stereotype of most people think cybersecurity is these, basement virtual,
Yeah, I forgot to wear my hoodie, right?
Yeah.
And my sunglasses.
Yeah, exactly.
So to have those live experiences to kind of break down those, those preconditioned stereotypes.
And you also get access to people that otherwise maybe they're not active on LinkedIn or other social media platforms. So I can just I can corner them and talk to them.
It's very fast and direct conversation.
Yeah.
And so being kind of a newer business owner, do you feel differently about your role in your community, or your sort of how you're relating to people in the community?
Yes, because now I'm wearing WKL swag, like this shirt.
Mm-hmm.
It's over here.
That's right.
Everything's backwards. Like touching the wrong spot on my chest. But anyways, when I'm wearing a WKL shirt, I definitely feel like I have responsibility to the company. Don't act a fool. It's going to hurt your business.
Right.
And also we've been donating to charities a lot more locally, in Rockford and Grand Rapids especially. So we also we sponsored a race car in Pennsylvania. We're going to drop a whole bunch of LinkedIn content on this, but Matt Doherty is his name, and we have the huge WKL logo on his race car.
Is it a NASCAR?
It's not NASCAR. No,
what is it?
Not that cool.
Some stock.
It's stock. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. And what's the team?
I think he's solo.
Oh, okay. So. Okay. And so what led to that decision?
Matt and John are friends. That's how that came about.
Yeah. And it's just
we need to support our community.
Yeah. So John actually also owns a maple syrup farm, and I've been trying to get him to advertise WKL on the backs of the maple syrup bottles, but we haven't got there yet.
And that's out of Pennsylvania too?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What is that brand?
Oh, I think it's Maple Ridge Tree Farm.
So everybody go
Or-
check that out.
Yeah. I love a good maple syrup, especially,
Mhm.
okay, it's totally unrelated, but people think grade A maple syrup is the best thing. It is not, because they take all I mean, that's what you want to sell, for a commercial product. But if you can get the stuff that's less refined,
Yeah.
it's delicious.
That's a friend. So, I'm from Indiana, and one of my friends, it's in the middle of nowhere, Indiana. It's off of a lake, and he had, it's like a half an acre, but they have all these trees, the maple trees, and they tapped all these. I'm like, how are you getting maple syrup out of, Bloomington, Indiana?
That's
out of maple
about the
tree.
lowest line that you could. It's pretty close to the
Yeah,
lowest line.
but that's what he bottles. He does about 500 bottles a year. That's what and then he just gives it out as gifts and sells just a limited. And I'm like, but it's delicious.
I think you just need to get the right tagline, something to do with sticky fingers and your cybersecurity.
Okay.
If you deliver him the right tagline, I bet you can get it on the back of that maple syrup.
Okay.
There you
I
go.
believe in
I should work on that.
There
That's a good use of ChatGPT.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do you use any other AI tools other than ChatGPT?
ChatGPT is the lion's share.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the lion's share what we use it for. Yep.
And that's one of the things that I was glad to have you on to talk about today is, so it's blowing up everywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody's on it. We've already, since we booked your call, had some serious leaks come out in terms of folks using ChatGPT. Not for us. But,
okay.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about nationally in the news. Some major data leaks just from teams using ChatGPT, and then they've got trade secrets and stuff like that out there. So what are some of the things that business owners should be thinking about as they are looking to employ these tools, and as they're even got people,
everyone's expanding their tech stack.
Yeah. Just, figuring it out. Everyone's trying to play with it and see how it works for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this goes back to like software, software asset inventory. Like a business owner has to decide, do they even want their employees using ChatGPT while they're at work? So if the answer is no, like don't allow it at DNS. If it is yes, you need to write some kind of policy around how employees can use ChatGPT, like acceptable use for that software, right? So a not acceptable use would be putting in trade secrets, putting in like the strategic plan for the company for the next 2 years, like the slide deck that the CEO is working on, like any kind of source code where there's like hard coded secrets. Well, first off, you should never have hard coded secrets in source code anyways, but yeah, source code, proprietary information. It should be used for just like mundane,
ideation.
Like mundane things that you don't want to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ideation is another one. Yeah.
So what's kind of a basic ground rule? It sounds like basically anything that you wouldn't put up on the internet, don't put it on the.
Yeah. If you're not willing to like drop it on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, don't drop it in ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And are there other reasons? You said, is it a yes or a no? And do people come to the yes or no after deciding that stuff, or what are some straight up reasons to just not have it used?
I think this has all happened so fast that business owners are they're reacting right now, right? Because ChatGPT was released on November 30th, 2022, so it hasn't even been around like 6 months.
Yeah.
I would say that most companies don't even have a policy towards using AI to help with work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like another policy that has to be written now.
Well, are there any other guidelines as people are scrambling to figure out
which ones do you trust? Yeah, are there any kind of like telltale signs of, because there's hundreds of AI tools. Some look scammier than others.
Yeah.
Just because they're new, the marketing, the branding, it's just like very thin websites. So you don't get a lot of meat to go, are they really credible? But do you judge it just based on that? Or like,
I would do your own due diligence. Almost all of these AI tools that are being developed rapidly they're all just sitting on top of the ChatGPT API, and they're calling it in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And they're basically just like slapping a front end with some JavaScript and some HTML on top of that. So I think this is actually like an AI bubble that will burst eventually, because it's like a rush to market. Like, oh, we have AI now. Let's cash in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as far as developing security guidelines for I guess, these, large language models and all these other kinds of generative AI and things like that. What are just some things that, business owners should be thinking about when they're trying to make these decisions? Because this isn't going to be the last time that, some big new technology kind of takes over the business sphere and everybody's rushing to use it. I guess we saw the same thing with social not too long ago.
That's right.
So what are some things that people just kind of high level should be thinking about when they're making these decisions or seeing it creep into their workplace?
Yeah, I mean, business owners and employees should be starting to think about, like, even outside of ChatGPT, what is the role that AI should place at work? Like, how should AI be used? Obviously, it can be used for ideation, like JJ was saying, but it can probably be used to automate a lot of like really easy things as well. But the don'ts is more important. Like, don't put in trade secrets, don't put in strategic advantage, anything that would hurt the company's strategic or competitive advantage in the market. It cannot be used for.
And are there any other security risks other than what is physically, put into an AI software?
Any other risks that are like outside of? Not sure I understand that one.
So other than like the human initiated risk of I'll put this thing into the AI software and now it's, now it's available because it's, because it's not a secure environment anymore.
Right.
Are there just any other risks that people need to be aware of?
Or there's AI tools that you embed like on your social channels or on your website that are to help, automate and generate content.
Yeah. Those are really scary. Yeah, because yes, be worried about stuff like that. Like John and I have banned our employees from using Grammarly because it's essentially scraping everything and then talking to a back end to like, it's essentially using AI to see if you're like, are you using the correct tone, are you using like correct grammar, spelling, all these things. So it has to talk to some back end, right? So that every single word you write is being tracked somewhere. So.
Which Grammarly has got being pushed in a lot of corporations of, add these to your Chrome extensions. And there's like several Chrome extension AI tools but they don't present themselves as AI.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting too,
I never thought about that.
How many of those tools are, like back in the day, I remember the first time I tried to use, the audio, dictation to text.
Yeah, talk to text.
Yeah. And I guess I got off. I didn't have a signal, and it was like, you can't use this because you're not on the internet. And that was the first time it even clued me into the fact that
you've been talking.
Yes, and there's it's going into the cloud to decipher what I'm saying and come up with the text.
And then they're going to serve you ads because you were talking about.
That gets under my skin so much.
I have like no apps on my phone, so I generally don't have to
it's
worry
already
about
tracked
stuff like that. But I'm just saying, I don't have to see it. I know it's out there.
Yeah.
I know that life in devices is life in public, whether you want it or not. But what are some of the other, I guess, sort of back doors? Well, they're front doors. We're using them all the time where there's information exchange that people might not be really thinking about.
No, that's good.
Yeah. So obviously our phones are in our pocket everywhere we go. So all those apps that you've allowed to use your specific location, they know exactly where you are all the time. I always recommend, if you have to, there's usually like three options. There's like, don't use my location, use my location all the time, and then only use my location while using the app. Just check that one. I recommend that. And then, I mean, your phone could be listening to you all the time. Maybe. I'm not sure. I mean, I know that like that whole like your webcam is always watching you thing. I think that has been thoroughly debunked. Like, for instance, if my webcam is on, there's like a white light. So that means if that white light is off, there's not even power running to it. So I'm not like terribly worried about that.
That's good. I think everyone getting on Zoom also was really helpful in debunking that myth.
Yeah.
Because of all the times we could not see each other when the webcam was hooked up just fine. And you just can't see somebody. So
that's right.
That's good to know. We've got it confirmed here. So we are, already out of time.
I know.
It's time to wrap
This has
up.
gone fast.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Oh,
Wow.
Greg's like, no, that was very long.
Although good, it didn't feel long to you either. If it goes fast for the guest, then that's good.
That's good.
Greg, so thank you so much for all your insights and sharing your, some of your personal story. Where can people go to connect with you, find more of your cybersecurity insights, and just find more about you, Greg Hatcher, and what's going on?
Yeah. Probably the easiest way to find me is going to be on LinkedIn, or if you Google Greg Hatcher, there's like a slew of articles that I've been in. Thanks, PR team. But then on Twitter, you can find us at WKL_cyber. We also have a LinkedIn page dedicated to White Knight Labs as well. And then our website is whiteknightlabs.com. That's where all of our blogs, our service offering. We have like a little about page for me and John as well.
And it's White Knight, as in KNIGHT Labs.
Exactly. Yep.
Excellent.
WhiteKnightLabs.com.
And Jennifer, where can they hear more about us?
And to listen to this podcast, again, thank you. We're live today, but we will upload this to every podcast platform: Spotify, Pandora, Apple, wherever you choose to listen to your podcast. Or you can go to orangewhip.com, and that's WIP, orangewhip.com, and check out the Hello Chaos page. And it's also distributed in our hyperlocal platforms right now in 3 cities: in Greenville, Charleston, and Columbia, South Carolina, but soon to come to a city near you.
And I just want to say a really quick farewell of my own. This is
This is her last podcast.
This is my last podcast.
What?
My last time was.
I know.
We just met.
Well, we can keep in touch. I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably really my only social where I bother. So y'all can hit me up there. But it's been great. I have enjoyed folks like you, Greg, and all the many entrepreneurs that we've had. I mean, it's like 50,
Almost
guess, or
50.
close to 50 at this point.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's been great to get to know folks like you. Great to be part of the community. And keep in touch, folks.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Greg. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah. Thanks, Jenno. Thanks, JJ. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg.